This is China, a global bully on the rise, and on America's Santa's naughty list. The China as we know it today came from a bunch of Han Chinese dynasties, Sinicized non-Han dynasties, and a bunch of conquered territories. As China is currently on the rise in its latest cycle, it would be a good idea to have some insider knowledge of China. So what makes up China today? To grossly simplify, China can be split into China proper, non-Han Chinese areas, some random islands, and these bits of naughty places / last bastion of Chinese democracy. There is a notable north-south divide too. Starting from the China proper areas in the coastal region, Hebei, the protector of Beijing and Tianjin, with its wealth and potential being robbed by these directly administered municipality. It is also stereotypically the Canadian / New Jersey butt joke equivalent for China. Within Hebei is Beijing, the capital, communist headquarters, bureaucrats, rich, and this forbidden stuff. People from Beijing are stereotypically seen as snobbish who reckon they are better than everyone else, and likes to argue a lot. Towards the coast is Tianjin, which is also centrally administered but probably not on par with Beijing or Shanghai. Lots of food, dust storms, and the only place where the Austrian-Hungarians had a colony. It was given back to Hebei in the 50s, but reverted because it is basically Beijing's access to the sea. Below Hebei is Shandong, Confucius, seafood, crazy about spring onion, German architecture and German beer, and stereotypically tall, strong, and friendly. Below Shandong is Jiangsu, Japan having a go at Nanjing, rich, educated, and historical cities. They speak the Wu dialect, and sometimes look down on the Mandarin speakers. Then there is Shanghai, modern cosmopolitan, snobbish rich people, stereotypically soft guys and dominant women. Right below Shanghai is Zhejiang, rich, Jack Ma is from here, stereotypically bad drivers and stingy businessman, farming, and ancient architecture. Moving down there is Fujian, exporter of migrants, stereotypically stingy and cunning, seafood, hilly, and no one can really understand their dialects. Towards the southern end is Guangdong, rich, lots of internal and foreign immigrants, eats literally anything, and love doing trading. In general, China became poorer as you move westwards, starting off with Shaanxi, coal mines, noodles, vinegar, and this dude. Next to Shaanxi is Shaanxi, not a typo, similar to Shaanxi with noodles and vinegar, but with terracotta warriors and very ancient history. Then there is Henan, stereotypically poor and swindlers, thieves, thus getting looked down upon by other Chinese. It used to be the tip-top command center of the Chinese civilization. To the east is Anhui, which is just kinda there, famous for this Anhui clique, and exporting lots of domestic helpers ayis. To the west is Hubei, coronavirus Wuhan pandemic began here, famous for its wet markets, good athletes, and stereotypically foul-mouthed and cunning. Right below is Hunan, Chairman Mao and his friends are from here, stinky tofu, spicy food, television network broadcasts, and these Avatar Mountains. To the east is Jiangxi, spicy food, surrounded by rich famous economic powerhouse neighbors, and thus being ignored, sad. Smack in the center of China is Chongqing, a directly administered municipality as it has this three-gorge dam which needs to be safeguarded, and the population need to be resettled effectively. It used to be the capital city of China, tugged in the Sichuan Basin, cyberpunk dystopian cityscape, spicy food, lots of mountains. Moving towards the traditionally non-Han Chinese areas, the northeastern Chinese provinces beyond the Great Wall are collectively known as Dongbei, consisting of Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning provinces. The Dongbei region is the traditional homeland of the Tungusic people, which has relatively recently been under the Russian hegemonic influence. It is now like the Rust Belt of China filled with declining industrial sector, similar to the 1990s Eastern Europe, and stereotypically loud, alcoholic, and very direct. From the top there is Heilongjiang, Russian Harbin, quite nice with the winter ice, and extremely cold. Below there is Jilin, bordering the Rocket Man, traditionally the homeland of Manchus and Koreans. It is basically what the Korean peninsula would look like if Sinicization was successful. Right below there is Liaoning, with Port Arthur, German cars, Manchu people, and North Koreans escapees. Towards the southern Chinese provinces, they overlap with the traditional Southeast Asia influences, due to the mountainous terrains which impedes complete Sinicization. Guangxi, an autonomous region in China, home of the Zhuang people, plus other indigenous tribes, and quite rural. Right above is Guizhou, nice nature, spicy food, underdeveloped, and many indigenous hill tribes. Yunnan is the southwesternmost bits of China, traditionally a bi-state. It is basically bits of Southeast Asia who got gobbled up by China. Tea is from here, beautiful nature, infamous for drug trafficking, and stereotypically the prostitution hotspot of China. If the Dali Kingdom managed to resist the Ming invasions, Yunnan might be an independent Southeast Asian country today, with similar culture to Myanmar. At the very bottom there is Hainan Island, the Hawaii Cancun of China in the tropics, free trade port and visa-free access, some indigenous non-Han tribes, and stereotypically lazy men and hard-working women who are experts in brewing coffee. Towards the tall mountains in the west, the Han Chinese culture gradually overlaps with the mountainous Tibetan monk stuff. Sichuan and Qinghai have varying Tibetan influences as they are traditionally within the Tibet cultural sphere. Sichuan, the cultural center of Sichuan Basin, known for spicy food, gaze hotspot, pandas, mountains, and the breadbasket of China. Stereotypically the prettiest girls are from here, and the Sichuan people are super laid back, thus can spend lots of time playing mahjong and drinking tea. On top of Sichuan is Qinghai, desert plateaus, and lake. It is like a more Sinicized version of Tibet with more Muslims and Mongols. Then there is Tibet, historically a big bully in its own right. Tall mountains, Tibetan language, temples, and monks, Sinicization, and unrests. It forms the transitional zones between Indosphere and Sinosphere. This meat shield is wanted by both bullies, due to its super strategic location of being the source of major rivers, hence a place with lots of beef with India. The north and northwestern bits of China are stereotypically seen as China's wild wild west. Gansu, famous for this hexy corridor, deserts, Muslims, Lanzhou beef noodles, and space rockets. Next to Gansu there is this autonomous region of Ningxia, lots of Hui Muslims, wine, and largely underdeveloped. To the northwest there is Xinjiang, which forms the transitional zone into Kebab Turkic stuff, traditionally a Muslim Turkestan region. Registration is required for a kitchen knife, stereotypically thieves, Sinicization, and unrests. At the top of China there is Inner Mongolia, forming the transitional zone into Mongolic stuff, grasslands, desert, cold, livestock and dairy, eating lots of meat, and the Mongolian people throat singing. If the Russians managed to occupy more bits of Mongolia during the Russian Civil War, Mongolia might be bigger today. Moving towards the naughtier/democratic bits of China. There is Hong Kong, who kept protesting about democracy, stereotypically swears a lot just like its stepfather Britain, crazy housing conditions, traditionally a martial arts movie powerhouse, and will soon just be another Mandarin-speaking Chinese communist city. Macau, Hong Kong's little brother, Portuguese influence, egg-tards, and gambling. Then there is Taiwan, which is definitely a Chinese province if you like social credits. Mainland China thinks Taiwan is an American puppet and the last remnant of Western imperialism, whilst Taiwan thinks mainland China as crazy dictatorial communists. Both sides are technically still at war, which may erupt again soon. But otherwise, Taiwan has good food, smart microchips, the island version of Fujian, pop culture influence, and the democratic elected politicians punching each other to get their points across. Last but not least, the Spratly and Parasil Islands, which are definitely a part of glorious China for more social credits. From China's point of view, these strategic islands are crucial in safeguarding China's maritime trade route, so by all means go all out on land reclamation. So what is the point of getting to know these Chinese provinces and regions? Well, because China is super huge and diverse, and not every Chinese-looking person you see is a communist kung fu sweet and sour chicken-eating math nerd. Also, if and when China goes into decline as per its usual cycle, you might be able to guess which new countries may pop out soon. So which Chinese province is the best? In terms of economy, the coastal regions dominate the game. In terms of living standards, there is a notable east-west divide. In terms of best place to live, it depends on your preference of location. China is north-south divided historically, agriculturally, and stereotypically. In general, southern Chinese people think northern Chinese as brutes, and in particular the northeasterners as too direct. Northern Chinese people think southern Chinese are pretentious two-faced sinicized barbarians, lack of history, who just recently got rich. Northern Chinese women are stereotypically seen as the boss of the family, whilst Southern Chinese women are stereotypically badly treated by men. And all of them have a love-hate relationship with Korea and Japan, looking down on the dark-skinned non-Chinese who took up Chinese Belt and Road money, and an obsession with light skin color. So next time when you visit China, do take your sweet time to explore the insides of China, soak up all that China is able to offer, because sooner or later China is going to explore the insides of your country, and gives you an offer that you cannot resist. Thanks for watching.